It doesn't start with strength. It starts with adjustment, with learning that things won't always be shared, that some days feel quieter and some days feel heavier. Not because love is missing, but because responsibility arrives early. This is the psychology of people who grew up with a single parent. When only one adult is carrying the weight, children notice. They notice stress in the voice. They notice tired eyes. They notice when bills are discussed in whispers. They notice when plans change because something unexpected came up. And without being told, they begin to adapt. They try to need less, ask for less, complain less. Not because they don't have needs, but because they don't want to add to the load. So they become careful with what they ask for, careful with what they express, careful with what they admit is hurting. Many of these children become emotionally independent very young. They learn how to entertain themselves, how to solve small problems alone, how to calm themselves down when no one is immediately available. And from the outside, it looks like maturity. You're so strong. You're so responsible. You don't act like other kids. But what often goes unseen is that this strength was never optional. It was required. And being required to be strong is very different from choosing to be strong. Psychologically, this creates a specific pattern. The child learns that stability depends on them staying easy, that chaos feels dangerous, that being low maintenance feels safer than being honest. So they become careful with their emotions. They don't want to be another problem to solve, another stress to manage, another thing that might overwhelm the only parent they rely on. So they carry more than they show, and over time, that habit becomes automatic. They stop checking whether it's okay to need help. They just assume it isn't. Some grow up becoming protectors. They watch their parents struggle. They sense exhaustion. They sense loneliness. And they quietly step into emotional roles they were never meant to fill. Offering comfort, avoiding conflict, trying to keep the peace, trying to be the good one. Not because they are responsible for their parents' emotions, but because they don't want to see them fall apart. So they learn early how to be strong for others. And later in life, they often repeat that role, becoming the one everyone leans on, the one who listens, the one who supports, even when they are barely holding themselves together. Others grow up feeling torn between gratitude and unmet needs. They know their parent did their best. They know sacrifices were made. They know love was present. And yet, something still felt missing. Not always materially, but emotionally. Not because anyone failed, but because one person cannot be everything. And that conflict can be confusing. How do you feel pain without feeling ungrateful? How do you acknowledge loss without feeling disloyal? So the feelings get pushed down, and the child grows up telling themselves that they shouldn't complain, even when something still hurts. Many people who grew up with a single parent struggle with asking for help later in life. They're used to figuring things out alone, used to being the strong one, used to not expecting much support. So even when they are overwhelmed, they hesitate to reach out. They tell themselves they should be able to handle it, that others have it worse, that they don't want to burden anyone. Independence becomes identity. But independence is not the same as not needing anyone. And needing support does not mean you failed. It means you're human. There is also often a deep sensitivity to abandonment. Even when nothing bad is happening, the nervous system remembers. It remembers instability. It remembers sudden changes. It remembers having to adjust. So they may overthink distance, overanalyze silence, feel anxious when connection feels uncertain. They might read into tone shifts, delay responses, small changes in behavior. Not because they are imagining problems, but because they learned early that people can leave, and that safety can shift quickly. So their mind stays alert, always watching for signs. At the same time, many develop powerful resilience. They adapt quickly. They handle change well. They learn how to survive emotionally complex situations. They become observant, empathetic, socially aware. They can walk into a room and sense what's wrong before anyone speaks. Because growing up, they had to read emotional environments to feel safe. This becomes a strength later in life. But it also comes with emotional fatigue, because being emotionally alert all the time is exhausting. And eventually, the body asks for rest. One of the hardest parts is this. Many people who grew up with a single parent feel like they had to grow up too fast. They skipped pieces of childhood. They took on adult thinking early. They worried about things children shouldn't have to worry about. They may struggle to relax, struggle to feel playful, struggle to let go of control, because control once meant safety. And while they may function well as adults, there can still be a part of them that feels tired. Tired of being strong, tired of always managing, tired of feeling like rest has to be earned. Healing doesn't mean blaming the parent. It means acknowledging the environment, recognizing that love can exist alongside emotional strain, that care can exist alongside pressure, that good intentions don't erase difficult experiences. You are allowed to appreciate what you were given and still recognize what you lacked. Both can be true, and both deserve to be taken seriously. If you grew up with a single parent, you may still carry habits that once kept you safe, minimizing your needs, over-functioning for others, staying emotionally guarded, feeling responsible for fixing situations that aren't yours. But survival strategies are not meant to be lifelong identities. What protected you then may limit you now. And you are allowed to change that. You are allowed to learn new ways of relating to people, new ways of asking for support, new ways of letting yourself be seen. You are allowed to rest without earning it. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to be vulnerable without feeling weak. You do not have to keep proving that you can handle everything alone, because you never should have had to. And you don't have to keep carrying that role forever. The truth is this: people who grew up with a single parent are not too strong. They are strong because they had to be. They learned responsibility early. They learned emotional awareness early. They learned independence early. But now, they get to learn something else, that they don't always have to carry everything by themselves. That safety can exist without constant effort. That closeness doesn't always come with pressure. And that being supported does not make them a burden. It makes them human. If this topic feels personal to you, you're not imagining it. Your experiences shaped you. Your reactions make sense. Your strength makes sense. And so does your exhaustion. You survived an environment that asked a lot of you. And now, you deserve an environment that gives back, slowly, gently, without conditions.